What is going on, guys? It's James Baldwin here, F1 Esports driver for McLaren Shadow, and with the F1 Esports Pro Series fast approaching, I have been playing the F1 game quite a lot. So I'm going to take you on a quick tour of Spa in the F1 2020 game and how to drive around it quickly. So let's get into it. Okay, so first of all we're going to look at the lap in fast motion, normal speed. We're not going to stop it at all, and we're just going to take a look and see what it's like. So I'm using the McLaren in time trial default setup for turn 1 La Source, brake around the 100 metre board down to first gear. You can see we locked the front right there a little bit, but as long as you make the apex, get on the throttle early and avoid wheel spin, you're actually alright. Going down to Eau Rouge, it's a bit of a nothing corner in F1 2020. It has been for a few years now. There's just so much downforce on these cars. As long as you get the line right, it's easy, flat in 8th gear. DRS zone going into Le Com. So for the default setup, I've actually changed the brake bias and diff to 50-50. So there's a slight modification there. So for Le Com, use all the curb on the entry, and then it's just about making sure your line through here is good at all times. Make sure the minimum speed's good, and we get a little bit of a moment there on the exit into this downhill right. It's a very tricky corner because it's very easy to lock the front right wheel. We avoid that and up to 5th before no name, hold it in 5th and then get a good exit. Very easy to get an invalidation on the exit there as well. Puon is 7th gear in the McLaren on time trial, and you want to just pin the throttle as soon as you, or even before you get to the apex. There is enough downforce to kind of carry you through there. These two corners are quite tricky. The first one's not too bad. The second one, it's very easy to kind of run wide on the exit and therefore get another invalidation. Campus is in 3rd gear up to 4th on the exit. Again, easy to invalidate. This track is quite harsh on invalidations, to be fair. And then you can see, because it's a sim or a game, there's no tyre scrub, so you can kind of hug a really tight line just to get you a few hundredths on your lap. And going into Blanchimont, again like Eau Rouge, easy flat, use a bit of curb there if you want, it doesn't really make any difference. And then the final chicane where you can make or break your lap down to 2nd, use a tiny bit of curb on the first bit, no curb on the 2nd bit, down to 1st, and then avoid wheel spin, DRS zone to the finish, and it was a 141.969. Okay, so now we've seen the lap at full speed, we're going to get the slow-mos out because everyone loves a slow-mo, and we're going to look at the critical zones, I like to call them, of the track, the bits of the lap where you can make or break your lap. Let's look at them in slow-mo and see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to start nice and early in this lap. So turn 1, La Source as it's called. Trail braking here is extremely important. So we brake at 100 and we go down the gears fairly quickly initially to get a bit of engine braking, but we come off the brake and then we go down the gears at the right speed just to induce a little bit of rotation in the car. And this corner, generally, it's better to go in hard on the brake and come back on yourself and get a late apex rather than go in early or brake early, because if you brake too early you'll be so slow all the way down to Eau Rouge. So that's kind of the ethos of this corner. Go in hard, late apex, get on the power, and then once you've made your way through Eau Rouge up the Kemmel straight, you'll reach the Le Com chicane. So for this chicane, all you want to do really on the entry is use all the curb on the left just to make sure your line through here is aggressive and as racy as possible, should we say. It means you can carry more speed through each part of the corner. You want to go down to 4th gear for a little bit more rotation on the right, and then before you get to the left, go up to 5th again, and then on the apex of the left, start to get on the power to rotate the car, because you can use the throttle in this game to rotate the car quite a lot. If you do use too much power though, you will spin, so you kind of need to build up to that. And taking the correct line through here at every stage gains you so much time, as it's a combination of corners and therefore it requires quite a nice flow. But anyways, moving on into the next bit of the lap, and it's a corner that is weird because it has no name, so I've called it no name, and for me it's the hardest corner on the track. So for here you have to stay in 5th gear throughout all of it. Use as much curb as possible on the entry on the right to ensure a better exit off the corner when you go through the left. So don't fully lift off the throttle at any stage, just keep the minimum speed up through here, and you can modulate the throttle with the steering to induce a little bit more rotation as we did at Le Com. And yeah, if you get a nice line through here and you get on the power early enough, your exit's going to be that much better going down into Puon. And after you've made your way through Puon and then that right-left section, I know the name of it, I don't think I can pronounce it, so I'm not even going to bother, but you get to Campus, and this corner isn't talked about enough in my opinion because it's so important, because what follows after that is a flat out, you're on the throttle for a long time afterwards, so you need to get a good exit off of Campus. So you approach it in 6th gear, use some of the entry curve and then aim to get a late apex and shift down to 3rd just before you hit that apex. Short shift to 4th to avoid a bit of wheel spin on the exit, whilst picking up the throttle and run as much exit curve as you can. But if you go 4 wheels over, you will get an invalidation, so you've got to be really careful of that. And then once you've made your way through Blanchimont, you come to the final chicane, which can make or break your lap, quite frankly. You wouldn't want to waste all the hard work you've done up to this point. So you brake really hard at the 100 metre board and then shift down the gears very quickly to maximise that engine braking we talked about previously. And in general, engine braking in F1 2020 really helps. For the first ride, take it in second gear and use all the curb up until that big sausage curb, because if you use the sausage curb, you may get lucky with it, but usually it will unbalance the car, and if you take too much curb, you'll get an invalidation anyway. And then once you've got past the right, aim for a late apex for the second part, but pick up the throttle a little bit, like 30-40% in between these two corners, just to keep the minimum speed up. And then use first gear for a little extra rotation for the left, short shift a second on the exit whilst applying a bit of power, and yeah, just go through the gears really quickly, hug a nice tight line to the finish to gain you a few more hundredths. And then once you've done all that, you have mastered a lap of Spa Francorchamps. But there you go, that is a more detailed look of a lap in an F1 car at Spa. So let us know what times you can do in the McLaren in time trial. The lap I've done there, as I said earlier, was done with default setup. We at McLaren Shadow hope you enjoy the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend, and finally, best of luck to the boys, Lando and Carlos.